right, what is up, everybody? We are back.
Back in the sack.
Back in the saddle again. So, welcome everyone live on YouTube. Kiss Meets the Podcast, Crazy Kiss Countdown. You wanted the best. I'm one of your hosts, Eli Clausen.
And I am not Bruce Kulick's brother. I am Luke Neely.
Or AKA, I guess this week I am Right Nut.
Right. I wish I were Bruce Kulick's brother. I would totally go for that.
Well, you wouldn't be with us anymore either, but.
Well, that's true.
No Savannah with us, unfortunately. She was feeling a little under the weather, but I don't know if maybe she'll pop in on the chat or not and chime in. Who knows? But
yeah.
And apparently, since we had to cancel last week, Steve was going to join us. Not sure if he's planning on it this week, but the door is open to him or Javier or anybody that wants to pop in on the video with us and join in on the show. So if you don't already have the link, let us know. I'll send it over to you really quick. So I hate to once again start the show off with some horrible news, but just a few hours ago on Facebook, we got the horrible news that Frankie Banali passed away, drummer of Quiet Riot. He was battling cancer. I think we all knew that. Last I heard, it sounded like he was actually doing pretty well, and possibly getting close to even beating the thing. But news just kind of popped up as it usually does on Facebook all over, and it was another one of them shocks to me. And I've always loved Quiet Riot since I was a little kid. They were one of the bands that I always played along to, right along with Kiss and Van Halen and Beatles when I was a little kid. And I always enjoyed their music videos on MTV too. Those are up there as some of my all-time favorite videos. They were always fun. And unfortunately never got a chance to meet the guy. I wish I could have. And so now Frankie's gone. Of course, Kevin's gone too. He passed years ago, and you could count Randy Rhoads in with that too. So they're putting together a hell of a Quiet Riot reunion up in heaven right now, I'll tell you.
That's for sure.
But please don't take Rudy Sarzo anytime.
Yeah.
Use somebody else that's already up there with you, please.
Right. There's plenty of good ones.
So did you want to say anything about that? I know you were in the Quiet Riot and stuff too, weren't you?
Yeah, a bit. I didn't get into them as much as I probably should have, but of course, yeah, that was a name I was familiar with before I even saw that it was the drummer of Quiet Riot. So it was definitely sad to see.
Yeah. That Mental Health album, I wore that cassette out all the time, and I always loved that image on the front, that guy with that mask. I always used to just stare at that, and it was kind of intimidating at the time, when I was a little kid watching that stuff and looking at the pictures. But just so it sucks to hear. Rest in peace to Frankie Banali. He did have a small tie-in with Kiss. I was kind of looking that up earlier just to see if there was any tie-ins for this, and apparently there was a Led Zeppelin tribute album some years ago, and he played on a track along with Bruce Kulick. Nice. Apparently they did The Ocean, which is one of my favorite Zeppelin songs, so I would definitely like to hear that now. Rest in peace, Frankie. Sucks to hear. Starting to lose too many of the good musicians, and especially a lot of my childhood is all starting to slowly pass away, and it sucks. It's weird, but I guess that's part of life at the same time. And I guess the only bright side you could look at is he's not suffering anymore. That's always kind of the upside to this kind of thing. Cancer is such a horrible thing, but so again, rest in peace to Frankie. Hate to start the show with such a somber note again, but let's try to pick it back up. Not sure if anyone's jumped in yet anyway on the stream, but so anyway, obviously we're here to do the live album. So always fun to re-listen to that. Just gave it another listen earlier today. So of course, since we missed last week, we do have some things to catch up on. So we'll get into that here and then keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Yep. We got a few different comments here. I'm guessing Robbie must have gone back and rewatched some of the episodes from earlier in the You One of the Best series, because we got new comments from Robbie Stars on all 3 videos.
Cool.
So going back to the debut album review, Robbie Stars says, "There's only 3 to 4 Kiss albums that I will rate a 10. This debut is one of them. The first album I've ever heard and still one of their best. It was cool back then hearing Peter, Paul, and Gene taking turns singing, especially Kissin' Time. What other band had or has 3 members singing in one song? Not even the Beatles did that. That's what always stood out with the first 9 studio albums, especially Love Gun and Dynasty, with all 4 singing tunes."
Absolutely, man.
Yes. Absolutely. Also got a new comment from Robbie Stars on the Hotter Than Hell episode. He says, "Richie Wise had a hard time producing this album because every time he'd show up to record the band, there was equipment missing and replaced with other crappy recording material like microphones and speakers. Even one of Paul's guitars was stolen during these recording sessions. If you've never listened to Dust, do it. It's Richie Wise's band. You can hear early Metallica in some songs, and it's one of James Hetfield's favorite bands."
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dust is some pretty good stuff, yeah.
Nice. I've never heard any of that. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it kind of, they reissued their first 2 albums a few years back, and I heard, a lot of people were just nothing but praising that stuff, and I do have the first album, I believe it is, but I haven't picked up the second one. But yeah, it's definitely good stuff. I'm real big into that 70s hard rock, kind of those kind of somewhat obscure bands and stuff. Like that's a lot of the flavor I tend to look for on, especially like vinyl right now. That's kind of what I mostly try to go after. But yeah, Dust is excellent stuff. Definitely check it out.
Sweet. Let's see. We also we got a list of comments here on a couple weeks ago's episode, Dressed to Kill, the last episode for us. We got from Robbie Stars 2 comments here. On the first, he gave us his ranking for that album, his top 3 being Rock Bottom, Love Her All I Can, and She. He also says, "I like this album. It's Peter's favorite Kiss album. Ace mentioned most of his solos on these songs were one take. Definitely rushed, but it turned out decent. I remember this album was well loved by Kiss fans when I was growing up in the 70s, but the debut was loved a bit more. But it's still a great classic album. This could be anyone's favorite Kiss album, but I like quite a few more over this. I give it an 8.
Nice. Yeah, I may be wrong, but I don't feel like we've come across anyone yet that started at the first album. That was, I'm still hoping we can run across someone that was there at the beginning, and what that was, that whole like feeling of buying that first album as soon as it came out and everything.
Right. Especially when at that point those were the only Kiss songs that existed anywhere.
Yeah.
Such a weird thought. Savannah and I were just discussing that actually, listening through a live, how strange it is that it still feels like Kiss, and it's not weird or anything, but it's strange to think no Detroit Rock City, no Love Gun, no Do You Love Me, I Was Made for Love You, things that have become absolute classics are completely absent from this album. They didn't exist yet, And
then even back then, it's like, if you didn't see them in concert, you didn't hear some of those older songs that they were doing in the earlier days that never made it to any of these live albums or a studio album for that matter. So
right. Robbie Stars also mentions Love Her All I Can was supposed to be on the debut, then Hotter Than Hell, then finally used for Dressed to Kill. Just think if this was on Hotter Than Hell, how heavy it would have turned out. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. In a way, I'm kind of glad that it wasn't on there based on the overall mastering. But Yeah, I mean, it would have definitely heavied it up because, like I did say with Dress to Kill, I felt like the guitars were a bit thin sounding overall. But, yeah, I don't know. I'd almost rather heard it on the first album, to be honest, though.
Yeah, if we have to pick, I like it right where it's at, honestly. But yeah, it would have been neat to hear it with that other production.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not 100% sure the weird muddy drum sound of Hotter Than Hell would have benefited it.
And this might sort of tie into something that'll come later, like probably at the end of this album. But it's a song that I wish would have been on a live or even in the live sets. Love Her All I Can. That would have been great.
Definitely an energetic pick me up.
Yes.
Yeah. We also had a comment from Thomas, our good buddy Rain in Adamstown, who gave us his votes for Dress to Kill. His top 3: Come On and Love Me, Ladies in Waiting, and Rock Bottom as his number 1. He says, nice. Still and forever a 10. Fantastic clean production and world-class bass runs. True confession, if Bob Ezrin would have listened to this album only one time, Destroyer would not have been such a horrible production. Woo.
Yeah, believe me, man, like the diehard fan in me wants to give all these albums a 10, but that would just be too, it's like that's what everyone would expect, and it just wouldn't make it that fun to sit here. Oh, that's a 10, that's a 10, that's a 10, that's a 10.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think we've documented Thomas's dislike for Destroyer a few times on here. See, I don't personally dislike Destroyer at all, but I do definitely agree it would have been potentially a better album had Bob Ezrin built on Dress to Kill rather than totally going for his own thing. But that's not really Bob Ezrin's thing. Bob Ezrin's thing is to do his own thing.
Yeah, because the sound Dress to Kill had, and then even that live, that raw sound that a live caught, and then here comes Destroyer, and it's just like, and again, I could kind of see where at that time, fans would have been kind of like, whoa, what's this, at first.
Yeah, and this is a total turnaround. Yeah. Definitely. We did get Robbie and Thomas's votes put in for the episode Dress to Kill. Didn't change the top 4, but we did get up to a 7.7 overall average. Yes, Severin. I can't even say it on purpose now. That's up from a 7.6, so we did pop that up a little bit. What else we got? We got 3 comments from Kiss and Tail. I assume that's our good friend Chris there. He says, sorry, had to rush my dog to the vet. He started choking on something, but it's all good now.
Oh, man. Glad to hear everything's all right, man.
Yeah, that's definitely not good. He also says, I think Beth is the other song when people hear it, they go, that's Kiss.
Absolutely.
That's a good point. That was one of their biggest ones. That's another one. Most people that don't even know that song as Kiss know that song for sure. Also, he says, my true confession is that this is my least favorite album by the Originals. I'm not a fan of the songwriting, and most songs on this album I like better live. The production is killer on this album, but the lyrics on Room Service are so terrible I can't take it. This album for me is just okay. We also had a reply to that comment from Steve McGowan, who says, I have to agree. I always felt like this album was rushed in the lyrics and music. This is my second least favorite album by Kiss and All, Asylum being my least favorite.
Wow. That's second least favorite out of all the album. That's crazy. I mean, okay.
Yeah. Whatever you got to do.
For that matter, I was going to mention this later, but since Kiss and Tail came up now, quick shout out and plug. Luke and I are actually going to be guesting on their show tomorrow night. Actually, we're going to be recording the episode. So we're really excited to do that. And, we'll keep you guys posted. And once that episode's up, we'll link you guys and everything. But we're definitely looking forward to that. So
definitely. All right, so over to the polls, which, by the way, Facebook would not let me post this week's polls. So look forward to those. They are coming, but they are not up right now, and usually they are up by this point on Fridays.
Yeah, that stupid new Facebook. Like now they're forcing you to go with that new look instead of the classic all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Probably something to do with that, I swear.
Oops. Yeah, let's just hope they don't completely disable polls. That would figure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay, I was just making sure because we got 2 weeks of finished polls now we can talk about.
Right.
Starting off with Psycho Circus versus Odyssey. Psycho Circus, of course, crushing that with 86% of the vote.
Yeah, I felt like Odyssey should have had a little more love than that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really a great Paul song. It's, ask Sam, he'll tell you how much he loves that.
Yes. Absolutely. We also had 1,000,000 to 1 versus Fits Like a Glove, and I bet you're already mad about this one.
I am. I've been mad for 2 weeks now. I can't believe it.
Oh, however, on the other hand, Savannah was very pleased that 1,000,000 to 1 beat Fits Like a Glove just barely with 53% of the vote.
Boy, I tell you, when we did the first 4K, it didn't even make the top 3 of Look It Up, and now here it is losing out already on the competition. So
yeah,
what's next when we go Look It Up this time? It'll be like the least ranked one out of everybody or something.
Right? Yeah.
Oh my god!
I was complaining about this when I posted that poll. This is like the 3rd or maybe even 4th time in our tournament that a Lick It Up song has been up against another Lick It Up song, and that's just a load of crap because that's just knocking out the good ones.
Yeah. But again, it's literally random work,
You're right. If even we're like, well, that's stupid, it's random. But yeah, that's see now. I personally love all the No Makeup albums. They even hold a more nostalgic place to me than the Makeup albums. But of all of the No Makeup albums, I think the average Kiss fan would place Lick It Up, either Lick It Up or Revenge at the top. So it's kind of disappointing to see it eliminating itself so quickly.
Yeah, Lick It Up as a whole has really grown on me too, as far as pretty much the whole album, and just like Asylum did. But Lick It Up now is another one that I can pretty much say that I can listen to the whole album with no trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. We also had Getaway versus Saint and Sinner. Saint and Sinner beats this one out with 65% of the vote. What else we got? Ooh, yeah, we had another big kick here with Forever versus Heaven's on Fire.
Yeah, I was a little taken aback with that one too.
Right. Heaven's on Fire wins with 62%, which I guess I understand, but I will admit I wish they had been closer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'd argue till I'm blue in the face that Forever is the better song.
Yeah.
Especially that Bruce solo. I mean, come on.
Yes.
But like
Whereas
I said,
Heaven's on Fire has like no solo.
Right. Heaven's on Fire and Lick It Up are the rock and roll nights of the 80s. I understand. I get it.
Right.
They're, I like them songs too, but I'm sorry, Forever is, that's another one. I almost hate to see that one go more than Fits Like a Glove.
Yeah. Yep. I get with that. Yeah. Another strange one. I was curious to see how this was going to go, and I'm not sure I'm happy about it personally. Hell or Hallelujah versus Baby Driver. And Baby Driver wins with 69%.
That was a weird one.
Yeah, definitely not one of my favorite classic lineup songs there with Baby Driver, and I guess I should have figured classic lineup's going to beat out current lineup. It probably didn't even matter what songs they were, but I'm still a little like, I don't even like much of Monster, but I feel like Hell or Hallelujah is a little bit of a better song.
I kind of feel that way too. I'll be honest. I mean, Baby Driver's cool, but I feel like Hell or Hallelujah's got a little more of that potential to be considered more of a classic. Because I mean, look at how old Baby Driver is, and how many people don't even know that song.
Yep.
But a lot more people probably know Hell or Hallelujah already. And it's only what 5. I don't even remember how old it is now. 8 years old, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 2012.
Yeah.
So yeah, 8 years old. Yep. We also did Let Me Know versus I Stole Your Love. This one was pretty much a blowout, with I Stole Your Love coming in at 88% of the vote.
Definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Yep. I like Let Me Know a lot, but up against I Stole Your Love, yeah. Okay, and then that brings us to last week's polls that just ended earlier today. We had a big one, and I think you guys will be very surprised at the outcome. Not necessarily which one won, but at the percentages, I think you guys will be surprised. So our first one from last week was Making Love versus I Still Love You. I was real curious to see how that would go. Making Love ends up getting by with 57% of the vote.
That was close. Wow.
Yeah, very close, very close. We also had Trial by Fire versus Love Her All I Can. Another fairly close one, with Love Her All I Can coming in at 59% of the vote.
Good to see.
Yeah. You know what? Of all the ones that came close, I'm surprised it was a no makeup song versus a makeup song. So it's neat to see a song like Trial by Fire almost beat out a makeup song,
Yeah.
Then we come to the kicker. I Was Made for Loving You versus Detroit Rock City.
Woo.
Yeah, I winced a little bit when I saw that one. So Detroit Rock City won with 76% of that vote.
Wow.
Yeah, I figured that was going to be just about 50-50. I cannot believe I Was Made for Loving You lost that bad.
Part of me wanted to vote for I Was Made just because of the intro to Detroit, since it wasn't the double platinum version. Not that it would have mattered anyway, but
right. Yeah, that was crazy. Actually, I want to get back on Facebook real quick, because that particular poll being so crazy earned it a couple of extra shares. I'm wondering how many people ended up voting on that one. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick before we get to the next one. Where are we at? Okay, 84. Not quite so big as I thought, but okay. So we also posted Black Diamond versus Good Girl Gone Bad. I think that one's not a huge surprise there. Black Diamond wins with 87% of that vote.
Definitely.
Although I hope you people know what you've done to yourselves. That means round 3 is going to be Detroit Rock City versus Black Diamond.
There you go. We've tried to warn you, it's going to get harder and harder. So
it really is.
When you end up when we end up putting you in a nut house, don't blame us.
Right? Yes. We posted Under the Gun versus Do You Love Me. Do You Love Me wins that with 63%. So again, Under the Gun didn't do too bad.
Yeah, I wanted to go with Under the Gun on that one. Like I say, again, Do You Love Me? I don't need to sit here and, because we all know it's a great song. But like I said, I'm just kind of bored with that song, especially off of that album.
Yeah.
And Under the Gun, to me, it's like, such a great, heavy Paul song, which I don't feel like there's a lot of those. But
yeah. And you see Kiss getting real fast, which they don't do very often. Paul's even flat out said in interviews before that he doesn't like really fast songs.
Right.
So Under the Gun and stuff like Boomerang from Hot in the Shade are rare, you know?
Yeah, it's no wonder they didn't play it live that long.
Yeah. And our last one is Easy as It Seems versus Come On and Love Me. And of course, Come On and Love Me wins that one with 77% of the vote. In fact, I seem to recall we even got a comment on that one with somebody saying Easy as It Seems is easily the worst Kiss song in the entire catalog. I don't know about that, but...
Well, like we mentioned earlier, Facebook's giving us trouble. We are going to work on getting those new polls put up, but for the hell of it, for anyone that's in here watching, why don't we just go ahead and say what they are this week and kind of get a heads up and get some opinions and give people a little extra time to think about what they want to vote for.
Absolutely. Yep. We got some very interesting ones here that, again, just looking into which ones I think might win and what that's going to mean for round 3 is going to be something interesting. So our first one is going to be Thou Shalt Not versus Young and Wasted.
Definitely Young and Wasted for me.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be a little bit difficult. I'm not even sure, honestly, thinking about that. We also are going to have Hooligan versus Move On.
I got to go with Hooligan. That's always been a favorite of mine.
For sure. Another often overlooked Peter song.
Yes.
We're going to, interesting, 2 Carnival songs, In My Head versus I Confess.
Ooh. Even though In My Head's grown on me a lot, I love I Confess off that album. I got to go with that one.
Yes, I think that's probably going to be where I go as well. Sure Know Something versus Larger Than Life.
Oh, my God.
I think I'll probably go Sure Know Something on that.
I think I'm leaning that way too,
yeah. Something about Larger Than Life never quite struck me right.
Yeah. It's cool, but not as iconic as Sure Know Something.
For sure. We'll also have Under the Rose versus Christine 16.
Definitely Christine.
Yeah, Under the Rose is one of my favorite Elder songs, but I don't think I can put it above Christine.
Yeah.
That's asking a lot. And then also our final one for this week will be Sweet Pain versus Long Way Down.
I guess I'm definitely going with Sweet Pain then.
Yeah, Long Way Down must have been up against another monster song. I don't know. So, yep, another no big bombshells this time, really, but some interesting stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely some tough ones in there, but yeah, well, Luke's going to work on trying to get those up for you guys, hopefully tonight, and if Facebook will let us.
Let's hope, yes. We also just got votes from Steve and Rochelle McGowan, so...
Mike Groves, what's up, brother?
Yo. Oh, you know what? Rather than do that, I'm going to do it on here.
Good Lord, man. Rochelle is on something. looking at her rankings, man.
Oh, dear Lord.
She ranked 100,000 years last.
Yeah, so did Savannah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's... I said the same thing. I told her that we're getting a divorce. We're not even actually married, but we're getting it.
Putting the kid up for adoption.
Yeah. I just heard her yell something too, so I don't know. She probably heard me.
Well, if you're watching, you're crazy. Crazy.
For feeling so lonely. Okay. Didn't get anything from Sam or Dad yet. Those may come later. So, Rochelle's top 4 then, starting with number 4 is Parasite, Nothing to Lose, Strutter, and Black Diamond. She also gave this a 9 out of 10. Steve gives this one a 10 out of 10. And let me put all of these in here real quick like.
While you're doing that, Steve's top 4 was Let Me Go Rock and Roll, She, 100,000 Years, and Black Diamond.
Nice.
So 2 votes for Black Diamond at number 1 already.
Yeah. I'm surprised to see Deuce so low on the list. Clear at number 12.
Mike says you look pasty.
Me?
Yeah.
Wow. Like Elmer's? I hope I'm not looking off-brand, at least.
You're the nut that's not getting the blood flow.
Yeah. Well, it happens. Years of lifetime. Okay, got it. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was a man, witch, and coke burp. I don't know that I want to relive that.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So now that you all know what I've had for supper, let's get into some album info. Yes. So, not that any of us should be horribly surprised here, but Alive is the first live album and 4th album overall by the American hard rock band Kiss. American hard rock band Kiss, who is that? This is, of course, kind of their breakthrough album, and also this is considered a landmark for live albums for any band, just in general. This album was released September 10th, 1975, and was recorded over 4 different concerts. One at Cobo Hall in Detroit on May 16th, 1975. Another at Cleveland Music Hall in Cleveland, Ohio, June 21st, 1975. That's not too far from us.
Nope.
Another at the RKO Orpheum Theater in Davenport, July 20th, 1975. And finally, another one at Wildwood's Convention Center in Wildwood, July 23rd, 1975. This album was produced by Eddie Kramer, a name you will be hearing much more often as you continue with our episodes. Apparently, this album's title is an homage to the 1972 live album Slade Alive, of course, from the English rock band Slade. Apparently, that band is Kiss is very heavily influenced by them. I did not realize that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so let's see, what do we got here? Our personnel on this is just the core band. Paul Stanley on rhythm guitar and vocals, Ace Frehley lead guitar and backing vocals, Gene Simmons on bass guitar and vocals, Peter Criss drums and vocals, and of course we've got the classic Kiss spoken word introduction by the late J.R. Smalling as well. This album
Slade Alive for those who aren't familiar.
Oh, nice.
Yes, J.R. Smalling, another one we unfortunately lost earlier this year, but yep, that is his voice on the intro there.
Yes. This album got up to number 9 on the U.S. Billboard 200 and also has been certified platinum in the United States. And anybody who watched our last episode should know that the only single released from this album was Rock and Roll All Night, much to Eli's chagrin.
Does it say anything about where the studio edits were done?
It does not.
Oh, because it's a totally 100% live album, that's right.
Oh, yeah. Wikipedia just glosses right over that.
Yeah. Of course, the the theory is that all of Peter's tracks are the actual live, recording, but everything else is pretty much touched up. And who knows? All right. So opening up the track, of course, after the hottest band in the land, Kiss, is Deuce. Coming in at number 2 for me. Like I said, this is, to me, the best song that Kiss opens up their sets with. It just, to me, has that energy, that bass slide gives you goosebumps, when the pyro goes off, on that opening, when it all comes in, and, just the way the drums are driving with that kick drums just pounding you in the chest with that beat. And, of course, Gene taking over on vocals right away to start the show is just always such a powerful thing. And, especially for this tour, and, you watch those Cobo Hall shows, it's just, just full of energy and excitement. And it was just a great way to open up the show. And really love this version of Deuce. The first time that we, heard the extended ending piece, or whatever you want to call it, that we all know now. But, that, again, I don't remember what it was like to hear that for the first time, and or when I heard it for the first time. It's been so long, but just a classic staple. You can pretty much, picture this whole thing while you're sleeping.
Yeah. Yes. That, by the way, is up from your number 5 last time.
Really? I gave it a 5 last time.
Yeah.
Wow.
This
crazy.
is my number. Yeah. This is also my number 2. Actually, down from my number 1 last time.
Oh, and I wanted to give it number 1 so bad, but again, my number 1 just yeah.
It edged it out a little.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. This is the energy that Studio version was missing. Yeah, the studio version. I bet she wasn't afterwards. If they had just recorded the studio version a little faster,
yes,
just like this version is, it would. I really feel like they would have less complaints about the first 3 albums not capturing their energy.
Right.
That's what it comes down to for this. Just like you said, this is the perfect show opener, and you can tell that they're coming right out onto it.
Yeah, I mean, the demo is probably the closest thing that catches the energy that this does. But, and, I've said, I guess I got so used to listening to a live that when I would, put on the first album, and I would just be like, this is Deuce. This is the same song. It doesn't, it just sounded so much slower and, less powerful, I guess, even at that time.
Yeah.
So we go right into Strutter. Looks like we're gonna have ourselves a rock and roll party tonight, and then we go into Strutter. This is number 8 for me. So we get the the double time on the drum intro versus what the album does, of course. I do like this version of Strutter a lot. I know on the first album, I think we were saying, as far as me, I get a little bored with that studio version from time to time. But this is one of the versions of Strutter I do like. It's again more up tempo. Peter's adding some extra flair on the drums, which I love. A lot of cool little rolls and things like that you really got to kind of pay attention to. And just the vocals, the harmony vocals on the pre-chorus and everything sound great. The solo and everything to it, just and then always like, because again, this would have been a first when they come back in after the solo and they do that little dun 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 dun. That's a cool little thing they still do to this day. And, so yeah, this great version of Strutter here, but with all the great stuff on here, man, it made it at number 8 this time for me.
Right. Ace actually does that same bit on the studio version, but they don't follow it.
Right? Yeah. If you
Yeah.
really pay attention, you can hear him doing that. But
Yep.
so I almost wonder. I wonder. Again, it's like I want to know the stories. Like, so who thought to do that then? Like,
Yeah.
was it something? Freaking God, I'm totally drawing a blank for some stupid reason. Sean Delaney, was it something he kind of heard and was like, "Why don't you guys do this?"
Right.
I want to know.
Yeah, really curious. To have been a fly on the wall during rehearsals
Yes.
in the early days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I guess Sean Delaney does have a book out, which I never knew about, but saw some people talking about it recently, so I'm definitely going to have to pick it up.
Nice. This is 14 for me this time. This one hits me about the same as the studio version, really, as far as it just being kind of A-B. Not to say that it's a bad song or a bad version. I personally kind of prefer the studio version, I think. And the other reason it gets kind of low for me is the drums here, except maybe the hi-hat, are kind of overshadowed in the mix. I wish you could hear it a little clearer.
Yeah, that is one thing about this whole recording is his hi-hat is really, really prominent. And I kind of like it at the same time because it's not that real, slushy hi-hat either. He keeps it kind of tight, but there's just something about the way it sounds that I've always liked on this album. The way it just sounds kind of nice and, crisp and everything. And again, for its age, it's like it still holds that to this day. Next is Got to Choose. This one is bottom of the barrel for me, number 16. Just, I don't know. I just felt like it was kind of like what you just said with Strutter. I felt like this one was pretty much identical to the studio version. Nothing different. I didn't really. I guess I liked how the studio version sounded over this live version. Some subtle differences, and it's one of those songs that I kind of honestly wish they would have just left off of this album if it came down to that, in exchange for different songs. But again, we'll get into that more at the end. But
definitely, yeah. This is also pretty low for me. 13 for me, a little higher than Strutter because it doesn't strike me the same way as far as being a little too A-B, but definitely prefer the Hotter Than Hell version. This one feels a little too fast, at least compared to the Hotter Than Hell version. The Hotter Than Hell version has got that nice kind of groove going for it, and this one is understandably faster. It's not too fast. It's got that live adrenaline, but I prefer the groovier, I guess, Hotter Than Hell version.
Right. Speaking of Hotter Than Hell, we go into Hotter Than Hell. This one, it was number 15 for me. So, same deal. I just love the studio version so much, especially the way they pulled off that trick in the studio with the and the whole gong and all that stuff. And it's a shame they couldn't pull that off live. And to me, that's just always something that this song misses big in the live setting, is not having that effect there. And to me, it always kind of takes away from the heaviness of that part. And I don't know, I've never been a big fan of the way Paul sings it on this version of the live as well. Just like you were saying with the studio version, I still feel like he's singing it kind of almost lazily on this live version. It's one of them that always comes up short for me, and I'll never not pick the studio version over any live version that they've ever done.
Yeah. This one did jump up to number 6 for me. I like the energy in this. I think, to me, I would still prefer this one to be a little bit slower than this version, but not as slow as the studio version. You just can't please me no matter what you do, I guess. But,
tease me, please me.
Exactly, yeah. I think I prefer the way Paul sang it here to the studio version, just it sounds a little bit more like him to me on this one. But yeah, he still doesn't sound like Paul freaking Stanley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, I should mention too. I think it was Robbie Stars that we were talking about the comment not too long ago about why Paul sounds weird on this song, and that got me thinking. So we looked further into it, and definitely right that for some reason the studio version of Hotter Than Hell, just that song, is tuned down a whole step instead of a half step, which is what Kiss normally did. Which is weird. This version is just a half step, just like their normal version, or their normal tuning. I mean, because they would have had to have all retuned or switched guitars, would have brought the show to a screeching halt. I still can't really figure out why they would have wanted to record the studio version lower, but I'm still fairly confident that it was not slowing the tape down. I can still say that. But yeah, for some reason, absolutely tuned down a little bit lower.
So basically, the live version on here is what it should have sounded like.
Right.
Okay. That is interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So we go into Firehouse. I've always liked how they used to, put these two back to back. Because I always loved how, Hotter Than Hell would just kind of ring out and then just bam, and then directly into that opening riff to Firehouse. So this is my number 9. And again, I will give this version credit, but like I said before, when we did the first album, again, get kind of bored with that version. I still think the version they did on that Mike Douglas show is way better and just heavier and grittier. But again, this is a cool version. I like the energy in it, but other than that, just lacks a little bit of that grungy, that gritty and grunge to it that other version has.
Definitely. This one, almost even to my own surprise, ended up being number 3 for me, and the transition played a big part of it. I always love when bands do that sort of a thing, going straight from one song to the next is always neat. It shows that they worked on it beforehand. I think audiences, even a lot of times subconsciously, like that kind of stuff. That's something Dad has always taught student band classes. When it seems like you're doing something special for the audience, even if it's just something simple like that. Really awesome. And also, ever since we jammed this one, me, you, and Dad, and Harry Mills, for some reason it's kind of reignited my interest in this song. So even though I'd still pick the studio version, I think, over this version, I enjoy hearing the song this time.
That's one thing I've always liked about Kiss is, in the live shows, they've pretty much never been one of them bands that do like a 4 count to start the song, like, on the hi-hat, or occasionally, like, maybe Paul might do like a quick little 1, 2, on the mic, but not very often. But most of the time you see him like sort of just counting the song off the mic, and I've always kind of liked that. It just kind of, because then the song just starts without hearing that count off. That's one thing I've always enjoyed about what they do live. It does show that tightness and uniformity or unity, I guess. Next up is Nothing to Lose. This one came in at number 14 this time. Pretty much, again, comes down to the fact that it just does not catch that feeling and vibe that the studio version has, not having, the piano on this version. And I will say something, though. When I was listening to this, like, it must have been like some sort of Mandela effect type of deal, because I always swore that, like, Peter was more screaming the stuff that he was saying in the background during this. But then when I was listening to it this time, I'm like, he's not really screaming it. He's just kind of, I don't want to say just talking it, but, it's definitely not that like screamy, Peter like we've heard on other versions. But it's weird because it was always in my head that that's how he did it. And So I don't know, call it a Mandela effect or call it a Kiss effect. I don't know, but yeah, this good song, but like I said, it's just lacking the energy and the feel that the studio has. So
yeah, absolutely. That was pretty much my notes as well. Number 10 for me on this one. This is another one that just has that groove in the studio. The piano adds so much, and the fact that it's a little bit slower in the studio gives it this feel that this live version doesn't really have. Now, on the other hand, this is one of the few times I enjoy an extended solo. For some reason, a lot of times when Kiss extends the guitar solo, it annoys the crap out of me. But this one I like. I'm glad they extended this one live.
definitely. Come On and Love Me, number 12 for me. Great job on this one. I feel like this one is pretty equal to the studio version. It's kind of got that same, feel and energy, and this is one of those where, to me, like the hi-hat really stands out, and it just kind of does something for me. It kind of gives it that little extra oomph to it, just hearing that hi-hat cutting through. And but yeah, I mean, the vocals, I felt like they sounded good on here, and as far as the harmonies and whatnot, it pretty much sounded just like the album, pretty much. And for me, that's what I like to hear a lot of times when I go to see bands. I want it to sound as close to the album as it can be. So at this point in time, they definitely did a good job nailing that.
Yeah. Yep. Number 8 for me there. I noticed as soon as this song starts, there's like a weird low hum that's not on Nothing to Lose. Like I tell when the track switched because suddenly there was this hum. So I assume this must have been from a separate concert or something, and maybe something wasn't grounded all the way or something. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but I had never noticed that before.
Wow. Yeah.
Also, I was a bit disappointed. I feel like the Paul's lead vocals were a bit buried in the mix at first, and then by the second verse, it's good. But I thought that was a little weird.
Next up is Parasite, number 5 for me. Such a great song. There isn't a bad version of this song, all the way up through the. Like we've toted the Revenge era doing this song, and all the way up through. It's just such a great, heavy, just empowering song, and love the little. It's almost like a tease of a drum solo in a way, because before it goes into that solo, Peter's just kind of riding on the thing and doing that cool little sort of jazzy snare thing, and you kind of think at that point that he's going into a solo, but then all of a sudden he changes it up, and then bam, dun, 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 dun. So cool. Love how they did that, and it's a fun one to watch too. Like every time I watch those Kobo shows, that's always one of the songs that I enjoy the visual of too, is especially watching Peter play it. So just a barn burner, man.
Yeah. This one did not strike me this time. Like, I mean, even a little bit. This was my number 2 when we did this the first time, and it's 16 for me this time.
Wow.
I don't know. It didn't catch me. It didn't interest me. The studio version stood out to me, and also, again, I could swear this was on a Live 3. That kind of made me mad that it isn't. They definitely play it at that concert. It's on Kissology 3 during the same concert, and shoot me, but I still personally prefer that version. I prefer the Revenge era version of this song.
It is a great sounding one. Robbie Stars, what's up, brother?
How's it going, man?
He says, "Is this a Kiss Alive party?" Awesome. Side note: Molly Hatchet were ghost musicians on this album. It was rumored years ago, but it's definitely not so. Rock On My Brothers. I've never heard that. Molly
Yeah,
Hatchet.
that's crazy.
Yeah, and all of their original members are now gone too, I believe. Because I know one of their, I think it was Molly Hatchet. One of their guitar players just passed away a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think you're right. That is. That's nuts.
Kiss, not Kiosk.
We knew what you meant.
Yeah, thanks to my eyesight, it looked like two S's to me, so don't worry about
it. This is Kiosk Meets the Podcast and the Crazy Crazy Kiosk Countdown anyway. So.
All right, next up, well, you came in at a good time, Robbie, because now we're really getting into the meat of the album. Next up is She, number 4 for me. I mean, obviously, it really comes down to, the Ace solo on here. It's, one of the, signature Ace solos. It's always hard to kind of pick which one you like better, this one or the one he does on Alive 2. I like them both. They both have their different flavors and, signature moments, but, that's a big part of this version of She. And other than that, I like that they did speed it up a tad bit. It is, a little bit more, balls to the wall than what the studio version is. And, and again, I mean, with the part they do before Ace's solo with the piece from Let Me Know, God, I wish they would have just done Let Me Know. That's really one of my wishful things about this.
Yeah, number 4 for me also, actually. And this is for several reasons, one of which is putting it where it is on the album. Going into this one from Parasite, freaking genius.
Mm-hmm.
Parasite, She, Watching You is a great 3 songs to have right together, keeping that heavy. They're in the same key, and then it just has that awesome feel. I am glad that they found a place to put the Let Me Know ending on this album, but yeah, I agree. I wish they would have done Let Me Know, because I've never felt like this one fits She that well.
Yeah.
It's in a different key and it's a totally different tempo, and I mean it doesn't completely not work, but it's still, even the first time I heard this, I thought, oh, that's okay. Didn't see that one coming, I guess. And then, honestly, I could have gone for a longer Ace solo section. I know he in actual shows he played a lot longer. I think they edited it down.
Yeah.
For this, but I wish they hadn't. Ace was playing some killer stuff in this era, and I feel like what they left on this doesn't quite capture it.
Robbie said, "I know Luke is chugging his bottle of cold gin." We're getting to that song, Robbie.
Yes.
Next up, we have Watching You. This one comes in at number 10 for me. Again, pretty straightforward as far as, comparing it to the studio, but not in a bad way, because, I mean, the song is great and heavy on the studio version, and they capture it perfectly on here. And the watching us thing at the end, how they kind of emphasize that a bit more on the live version, that's always fun to listen to. Robbie says, I agree, Ace was on fire. Yeah, he was. And then he literally was on fire and wrote Shock Me. Pretty much. God, where was I? Watching You, yeah. So great version, yeah. Still nice and heavy.
It's a good thing he didn't actually catch fire, because then he would have wrote Fire Me, and Gene and Paul would have been like, give it another couple of years, Ace Boy. Yes, Watching You came in number 5 for me this time, and really just because the Parasite, She, Watching You was a great trinity of songs right there to keep it heavy, give it that little edge. As far as the song, it pretty much was the studio version, and I still prefer the production of the studio version, I think, to this. So, neither here nor there as far as this particular version.
All right, next up, 100,000 Years, number one. It, pretty much being a drummer, it'd be almost criminal if I didn't name this number one. I mean, like I said, as much as I love Deuce on here, and I wanted to pick that as number one, this is always just outweighs it. And really, it's just, the song in general. But then you throw in the whole drum solo thing on top of it, and it's just like, oh my God, like, how do you make something that's already epic even more epic? Well, they figured out how to do it. And, the whole, you start at the beginning with Gene doing the tease and, doing the blood. That's classic, obviously. But, the performance of the song is great. It's real tight. Ace was out of the cold into the fire. It's thrown out.
Classic.
Nice.
Classic.
But yeah, you go into that drum solo, and again, kind of the same with the Ace thing. If you watch the shows, yeah, he does go longer than what's on this album. But I felt like they left in the best parts of the solo. Now versus the Live 2, which obviously we'll get down to, but God, I felt like they cut that one all up and didn't leave much on that one. But anyway, this version, this solo is another just classic. You can pretty much hum and sing along with the beats that he's doing. A lot of that signature stuff on there, and Paul doing the call and response part with the crowd is a cool thing, and the fire, the classic fire shooting up and everything. So it's just, the visual of this song is one thing, but then listening to it also, like, you just get this, you can't help but picture in your head when you're listening to it. So it's almost like you're watching it, in your head as you listen to it, either way. Listen to the drum solo on Frankenstein by Edgar Winter. Peter copied a lot of that stuff for us. So, interesting. I don't know. I'll have to listen to that again because I didn't hear anything that sounded familiar to me. I'll trust you, Robbie. I'll listen to it again.
Yeah. Nice. This is also number one for me this time. Completely agree. I still prefer the studio version of this song overall, but Peter's amazing drum solo will always make this track a go-to for me. I longtime watchers of the show will know that I poo-poo Peter and Ace a lot, and that's mostly for where their skills eventually got to. It's sad knowing that they were of this caliber, the caliber that the solo in this song proves, and then getting to the point where they just couldn't do it at all. Essentially, it's such a huge disappointment. But this is Peter just about at his peak, I think, for me. And yeah, I totally agree. They left in all the great parts of this solo. I'm a little on the fence about the flanger effect, if I'm being completely honest. It doesn't kill it, but I kind of just want to hear it without the effect. And then if I can hop up on the soapbox again for a second, like I dislike live albums pretty generally, and I think it's because live is so much about the visual. You know what I mean? And especially for Kiss, live is so much about the visual. So to only hear a live show is like we're missing 50% of what's going on. It's not necessarily 100% about the music when you're playing a show. So another reason this song gets number one for me is because of that audience participation thing in this. Because if we're going to hear a live album instead of just going to listen to the studio versions, we might as well hear anything like that there is. And this is one of the best examples of audience participation, I think, of any band, really. Yeah, it's just absolutely genius for a live setting. And to hear the call and response, to hear the audience yelling rock and roll. And I've always loved the do you feel all right part. if we're gonna listen to a live album, we might as well hear this kind of stuff, especially when it's executed as well as this particular part is.
Yeah, I mean, when is Luke going to sip some cold gin?
All I got's Coke.
Close enough, right? But I mean, I say this, and I mean it. I'm not just trying to sound like this Kiss fanboy, but I have never listened to any other live albums by any band. Yes, there's some good ones, but the ones that I listen to by Kiss are the only ones that I listen to, and I can actually get a mental picture of what's going on as I'm listening to it. And back when I was younger, before I saw video footage of Kobo, all I would do is just stare at that, the gatefold and the cover, the booklet that came with the live, and you would just stare at those pictures and try to imagine what's going on, as you're listening. Like, oh man, I could just picture what that looks like, and same with the live too. Everyone opened up that gatefold, and it's like, whoa, there's the image of the whole show right there. Basically, it's like you just picture that the whole time. And I know it's weird to think, like that's how things were at one time, and again, I'm not, I wasn't there when this came out, but here I was as a, however old I was, 6, 7, 8 years old, late 80s, mid 80s, whatever, and it was still like that, just because, again, I wasn't old enough to know that there were bootleg videos out there and all that kind of stuff, and other than the gatefolds and the magazines, the pictures, that's all I would have to go by and just try to imagine it in your head as you listen. But it was fun,
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, to quote Paul, we go right into Black Diamond, just like on the album, but two epic live tracks back to back here. But excuse me, this one comes in at number 7. Kind of, I don't know. I like the intro piece that Paul does, but I think there's something about the studio version that I kind of like a little better. And it's just, other than that, though, Peter's vocals are on fire again. Just, the energy he has singing, and and then still beating the crap out of those drums at the same time. It's, it's cool. It's very cool to hear. So, they definitely did a good job of keeping up the energy and the, staying true to the album version on here. But like I say, the intro part, I mean, I did like how in later years Paul would start to kind of extend that a little bit and do a little bit more, and play with the crowd a little bit. But for this here that we're talking about, I just felt like it was lacking a little bit. So, but still number 7 for me. So it's still an epic track.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. 12 for me on this one, which is, quite a bit down. I think, we were saying there's a couple of people that put this at number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's just what it comes down to. It's not really a dig on the song. I love what Paul does in the intro, just like you said. But yeah, mostly it's the same as the studio version, and I prefer the studio version. The only thing that maybe bumps this up to something else interesting is the bomb effects.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure were not the actual bombs from the concert that we hear here, but knowing
sure
that they're really, right. Knowing that there were really bombs there at the concert is it brings a cool visual to mind.
They somehow had planes fly into the arena and they dropped bombs right at that moment.
And they killed just everyone. Yeah.
They really bombed that night.
Oh. Yeah.
Part of me, like, just like with Hotter Than Hell, part of me would be sitting here complaining that, oh, they didn't, perform it the way it is on the album. That would have been cool to slow it down somehow, like how they did. But like you said, with the bombs and that thing they came up with is almost even more epic, with the drums rising up, and of course later years when he's got the cat on the riser, and just the bombs and everything going on. Yeah, I mean, they came up with a pretty much better solution to end the song, and arguably more epic for that matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is Rock Bottom. This one's number 13 for me. The beginning part, I always like when the crowd fades back in and they've got that flange on the crowd, clapping and everything. To me, that's like a signature Kiss type of thing right there, like a sound effect, and that's always cool. And then, but again, just do not like the fact that they chose to do the intro to this song on the electric guitars versus acoustic. Again, it's shortened down, and but once the song itself kicks in, it's still pretty cool. I'd say it stays pretty true to everything. But but I think that's what really kills it for me, is just that intro. It just sounds too. I don't know. I'm not sure of the word that I'm thinking of, but it just takes away from it for me.
Yeah, definitely agreed. Number 11 for me on this one, and the heavy part of this song, totally fine. This is one of the songs where they extended the guitar solo, and I wish they hadn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way it was on the album worked perfectly for it, and this feels extended, and I wish it weren't. They definitely should have just left the intro off or brought out acoustic guitars and really done it. It loses some of that magic that it had in the studio from the acoustic guitars. I thought this is an interesting song to come out with as an encore, right? Because Black Diamond would have probably ended the night. And then to come back out and play that clean part, that's kind of cool. But I looked up the actual set list. Nah, they never actually had it in the encore. This was cobbled together for the album. It was normally in just the regular set. Also, Paul's weird, oh yeah, which is also at the beginning of Rock and Roll All Night. The same clip. So what? Not sure why exactly they thought that was necessary. Why would Paul go, oh yeah, and then they play a clean bit? I don't know. But again, just like for the majority of the song, the heavy part, totally fine live interpretation.
Yeah, because it's like, they at the end of Black Diamond, you hear him go, good night, just real quick, and then he does it again. I believe it's after is it after Cold Gin, I want to say. You hear him again,
right.
Good night. It's like, geez.
Yeah. How many times?
All right, well, Rabble, you've been asking for it. Next is Cold Gin. Comes in at number 11 for me. How y'all feel?
Yes.
Again, overall, I get kind of bored with the song as far, I think I said that with the first album, but I would say that I prefer that version over this one. I just feel like there's elements in that as well that wasn't replicated in the live version. I love the beginning when Paul's playing with the crowd, and Peter's doing those little Mexican beats and whatever things, kind of messing around here and there, and even on the videos you'll see Peter like getting up and reaching over the drums and poking Ace with his sticks, and just being goofy and cool stuff. But But yeah, once they get into the song, it's like, pretty much the same, a little less to me. But the solo part, I'll give that credit. You know, the way they extend the solo towards the end, and you know, came up with a pretty cool, way to end the song. So I will give it that much credit. But yeah, just number 11 this time for me.
Yep. Number 9 for me, just for the same reason that I was talking up 100,000 years for the crowd participation. This is Paul doing what Paul does, and he does it damn good, you know. And then for the song itself, let me just say that after all the Ace solo stuff that we've done recently, it's nice to hear a live version of this song with Gene singing it.
Yeah, I will say that. Yeah.
Yes,
and a drummer playing it correctly.
Yeah, God, yeah. Yeah. Ace wrote the song, so I totally get him singing it. It makes sense, but I just prefer the way Gene sings it.
Yeah. Okay. So once again, we get that false good night into the show, and we get Rock and Roll All Night, the national anthem. Number 6 for me. Yeah. Again, not to sit here and beat a dead horse like when we did Dress to Kill, with reasons I like and don't like the version, and we got into that discussion about how the radio tends to only play this, and prove that fact because it wasn't long after that show I was in the restroom again and had the radio on, and sure enough, guess what came on? So I took a little video clip and sent it over to Luke and Javier. Like, see, never fails. Kill me.
Yep.
But, and it's like, I hate to say that because, I love the song and it is a great version. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like, come on. I want to hear the studio version once in a while, or something other than Rock and Roll All Night. I mean, come on,
Yes, please, yes.
And I wish they would have left, well, never mind, that's the next song. But yeah, as far as, so yeah, number 6 this time, I don't know. I was actually going to rank it a bit higher, to be honest, but again, just some of these other heavier hitting classics to me just pushed it back a little bit.
Yeah. Number 7, I think, for me on this one. My only note is it's Eli's favorite song. Yeah. I gotta agree with the beating the dead horse thing. It's the same discussion we had last week. I prefer the studio version in production, but I prefer this version's arrangement. I much prefer having a guitar solo in the song. I much prefer having the actual ending. But yeah, if we're talking production, Alive doesn't cut it for me really on any track, especially this one. So, and I was thinking that as it played this time, it's like, man, I talked this track up a lot, and it's not really hitting me. It's not really hitting me at home. I think it's just because there's a freaking ending and a guitar solo that I like this version,
Which, Rabble, we'll quiz you on it since you're the one active in here. Do you know what the ending of that live Rock and Roll All Night comes from?
Oh, good. Yes, I didn't see Robbie's last comment about Gene's voice. Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I'm always worried that your average Kiss fan will disagree with me about Ace's voice.
I like Ace's voice, mostly in the 70s era, but I mean, Gene's voice in the 70s was just so much more epic, and I always, hated that his voice ended up changing over time. And correct, Rabble, get away.
Nice. Yes.
He also says Rock and Roll All Night is Kiss's Stairway to Heaven. Yeah, definitely. Ridiculously played too much. I agree. I'd rather hear the studio version. Yeah, spot on, man. I knew I liked you for some reason. All right, so yes, believe it or not, Rock and Roll All Night was not the closing song back then. It was the next one, Let Me Go Rock and Roll. Number 3 for me this time. You know what? It's like I really enjoy the live version of this, and you know, I see why it closed the shows at the time, because it is a great rock and roll party song, and you know, it's definitely like almost like the twin, or you know, at least the brother of Rock and Roll All Night in a way. But I just love all the extra stuff they added to this versus the studio track. I mean, I love the studio track too, but it is obviously very short and kind of A-B. But all the stuff they add on here, the extended solo, that whole bass and drum part, you know, where they're whatever you want to call that, I just love that. And then listening to it again, I realized I've been kind of playing it wrong, so I need to study that up a little bit more and tighten that up. But yeah, it was cool to do that, because you know, I'm as far as I know, I probably haven't listened to a live as a whole since probably when we did it on the last 4K. To be honest, I'm not sure.
Same.
So I guess that's why it almost caught me by surprise to hear that I was, you know, doing it fairly wrong from what I thought I was remembering on, you know, in my head. So I got to brush up, that's for sure. But anyway, yeah, you know, it was a cool closer for its time. It served its purpose, and obviously Rock and Roll All Night took over pretty soon, and Let Me Go got pushed down pretty far, because they started doing it fairly earlier in the sets, you know, especially nowadays, if they even do it still. But yeah, cool way to close the album, and you know, a great, just a phenomenal classic live album overall. So that was a good ending.
Yeah.
Oh, and like I was going to say, I wish they would have left in Gene's lyric fumble on this version. That would have been great.
yeah.
From whatever performance that was.
Yes. Especially being, it's like, what, Gene, did you think we were just doing the same song again? We just did that. Yes. Yes. Now, this Let Me Go is my number 15. You know, I've often made clear my feelings towards this song. Just not my favorite Kiss song. It never has been. It's too A-B for me. It honestly, this one stuck out a little bit more to me, as far as it doesn't sound even like other early Kiss songs to me that much. It feels like something that was written really, really early, and they just went ahead and used it. Now, having said that, though, the added ending, just like you were talking about, makes this song absolutely perfect way to end the show and this particular album. It still feels weird to me that it's not Rock and Roll All Night. You know, they've done that for so long now. It feels like that should be the closer. But I do enjoy the ending of this live version of Let Me Go. I enjoyed playing that when I was in Sweet Pain. That was a fun way to end the first set. Usually we didn't do that.
Yeah, that's one reason I like this song, and especially the live setting, because it's got that same kind of driving beat. You know, it's kind of almost like Deuce in a way, you know, because you kind of got that kick drum doing that thing again, and it's that, you know, it's always just a fun type of beat to play, and gets people dancing and, you know, moving and everything, and that's always fun to see. So Rabble says, I like the original version of 100,000 Years. The live version, for how long it is, should be called 1,000,000 Years.
That's good. Yeah, that's true.
So overall, I give it an 8. I know last time I gave it a 10, I believe.
Yes, sir.
I was trying to hold myself. I still remember this vividly. It's like I remember, like, I was going to hold myself to try to only giving one album throughout the whole discography a 10. And then after hearing this, I was like, you know what? I can't deny it. This is a 10 too. Well, this time, like I say, I'm trying to be a little more, I guess, picky, and I don't know, whatever it is. But like I say, I give it an 8 this time. But as I got to thinking, and a lot of that is because, yes, I would have rather had Let Me Know on here instead of like Got to Choose, and maybe even Love Her All I Can if they had even performed that. They did Ladies in Waiting a few times on this tour. That would have been cool to put on here. Just some songs like that I felt like would have served, even better on this album than what we got. And because there are the recordings of songs like Let Me Know that were recorded on these same shows and sessions as if it was meant to be on the album. So it kills me that it never made it that way, or they never released like a say like a more deluxe edition, kind of like I'm thinking like the Allman Brothers and Phil Maurice. They released a version that finally had the entire performance without all the stuff they cut out. So it would have been cool if Kiss would have done that with these live albums, put in every song that was originally recorded and the proper sequence too. That would have been
right.
Cool. So yeah, that's really what it came down to for me this time. Instead of just what the album is this time, I was kind of focusing on what I wish the album could have been even more, and that's why it ended up coming in at an overall 8 for me this time.
Right. Yeah, I think honestly, I think a lot of people give this album a 10 just because it's so classic. You know what I mean? It's not the greatest thing they ever did, but it was their breakthrough, and it was a lot of people's first. It represented some of the original songs a little better than maybe at least the general public would say that it represented some of the first 3 album songs better. But yeah, I don't know. I can't go there personally for this album. I went with a 5 this time, and I gotta say, totally honestly, I went into listening to this in completely the wrong mood. I just really was not feeling like listening to a live album today, if I'm being honest. And I don't generally like live albums anyway. I'll take a Kiss live album before I'll take most any other band's live album.
Yeah.
But I'd rather hear every single song on this album. I'd rather hear the studio version, even if I have wishes like for Rock and Roll All Night. I wish it had a guitar solo, this or that. So I'm now that we're a couple hours removed from my ranking, I can say I'm not completely confident that 5 is fair, but it just didn't hit me the right way today. I can totally get on board with the reasoning behind them doing a live album. It made sense. They were a spectacle to behold in the early days, and this album does a good job of capturing that, capturing what it was like to go to an early Kiss show, capturing songs at their correct speeds, or at least mostly, getting Paul's just perfect crowd interactions and the drum solo. I want to include the guitar solo in there too, but again, like I said, I feel like this didn't quite capture everything that Ace was doing at the time, and I wish there was more of that. But I'm sure this was high end for a mostly live recording in the mid-'70s, but the other thing that really kills this album for me is I wish it could have been captured clearer, especially the drums. I really feel like the production lacks on this kind of hard, honestly, especially coming out of Dress to Kill. The drum sound just falls absolutely flat for me on this, other than when the drums are by themselves. During the drum solo, totally fine. But those frequencies just don't match with the vocals and the guitar and the bass, and sometimes the drums bury stuff, and sometimes the drums get buried. I would absolutely love to hear this album exactly as it is, but produced with the clarity and quality of like Alive 3.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I feel like it would jump up for me so much, because it's, like I said earlier, it's the original 4 guys when they were still getting along and they were still hungry, and it was before substance abuse and all sorts of things had gotten into Peter and Ace's head and started to kind of tear him down. So overall, this is not a bad album. It totally deserves most, if not all, the credit it gives. But for me personally, I just wish it were clearer.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, part of me, like, something I used to always think about is, like, say, being at the actual shows, like back then, like, say, Cobo Hall, or, you see, like, Zeppelin. I've always wondered, like, what did it really sound like at the show? You know what I mean? Like, what was the quality of the PAs back then, and how great did it really sound, if it even sounded good at all? It may have just sounded like a lot of loud noise or something.
Right, could have,
but, yeah. And I feel like you never hear anyone talk about that got to experience that stuff live, and it's just something I've always thought of through the years, and mainly because of Kiss. I'm like, I always wondered what it sounded like to really be there, in front of that PA, and because obviously I know what it's like to hear it nowadays, and whatever shows we've been to, but it's like back then is what I really wonder. When it was raw and everything was different. But if you listen to, and I know it's in that collection of stuff that we have of all that random Kiss stuff, the King Biscuit version of Alive that's in there, and it's all like the unedited stuff, but it has like the Let Me Know, and there's even like a little bit of extra dialogue at the beginning of Rock and Roll All Night that they cut out on Alive, and just things like that got cut out that maybe takes away a little too much at the same time. If you really listen to the original unedited versions, which is what it's on that King Biscuit version. So it's kind of cool that we do have that to kind of vicariously, I guess, hear the closest thing to the real version of what Alive was supposed to be by hearing those versions, I guess. But and something, I don't know if I've ever done this, and if I have, it's just been so long I forgot now, but I don't know if I've ever listened to the sequence of Alive, but only the studio versions. You know what I mean? Like how you were saying you'd rather hear the studio tracks. It'd be kind of cool to just listen to those in that sequence, but all the studio versions. So if I, like I say, if I have, it's been so long, so maybe that's a little something I might sit and do, soon, just, something kind of fun to do, and see how that adds up. But so that's it for Alive. Robbie, if you're still here, or anyone else, if you got if you want to throw in like a overall ranking, or even your top 3 or 4 songs or something, go ahead. Before we get these added up real quick.
Yeah. I think I enjoy watching the first Kissology more than I enjoy listening to this album, I think, because, again, kind of like I was complaining earlier, hearing a live album is really only 50% of the experience. I enjoy so much more getting to watch what they were doing as well.
Oh, I did forget something. You know what?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, how could I almost forget? It's time for True Confessions.
Yeah.
So mine first of all is, I've never been a big fan of the Alive costumes in general. The album cover. I guess I kind of go more towards Ace on this, because the bodysuit, never been a big fan of those round things around his shoulders, and the boots. I've never been a big fan of those kind of boots that he wore, especially with the low thing there. I like the high ones like he wore later.
Yeah.
Jeans is okay, but
it's
the boots again. I mean, come on. Obviously, the demon boots and stuff that we would get are so much more, just perfect demon, and this one has some decent things about it, but I'm just never been a big fan of the live costumes in general. It's definitely a look that I don't think I would ever want to care to try to replicate if I had the option. And then other than that, I guess I already ruined it. Is basically just talking about, like I was saying with, I could do without certain songs, rather have, the songs I mentioned versus those songs. So kind of spoiled that earlier, but couldn't help it. So
yeah, I can totally get behind that. The costume thing, especially. Yeah. Mine is going through these for a second time. I've always held Eddie Kramer in pretty high regard, and I gotta say, I think I'm losing a little bit of faith in him coming back through, realizing how much I really enjoyed Dressed to Kill's production and how clear that sounded. And then coming up to a live where I don't like the drum sound, and then I talked last week about how I wish both Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun sounded more like Dressed to Kill, and again it was based around that drum sound, and those were both Eddie Kramer produced albums. So I don't know. I think I'm losing a little bit of faith in his ability to capture that Kiss sound. The production on this album kills it for me more than a little.
I'm not, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of some of the stuff he did with, even Zeppelin and Hendrix for that matter.
Yeah.
Some of the overall sounding production on a lot of that stuff. But, I mean, he's great at what he does. I'm not trying to downplay or act like I could do a better job. But, I mean, I'm just...
Certainly, yeah.
You hear so many people just constantly talking up how great those albums sound, and to me it's like, not really. Like, I feel like it could sound better.
He certainly knew how to get a performance. We hear Ace especially talk about that a lot, about how Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun were both really enjoyable albums for him, as opposed to Destroyer, because he felt like Bob Ezrin didn't like him. He felt like some of the other producers didn't like him and didn't care whether or not he put his best stuff forward, whereas Eddie got it out of him. And Ace did play some really good stuff on those. So, I mean, purely from a producer standpoint, I think Eddie is good, but just like as far as getting certain sounds, not my cup of tea. Yeah.
I personally think the best thing he ever did and captured was those original Kiss demos. And it was, they never, obviously got like an official release. They might throw a song or two from those demos on a random compilation here and there when they put them out, but other than that, it's kind of a shame. Like those were maybe his best captured performances and how the band sounded, and versus everything he's done, and it's just like it's pretty much just sitting in a closet for so to speak.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I don't know if Rappel's still in here. I haven't seen anything, so I guess we can just go ahead and get to the overall stuff here.
Yep, absolutely. I have got it ready. And how many numbers we had to add up this time. All right. So, of course, in addition to the two of us and Steve and Rochelle McGowan, who we talked about a little bit, I do have Savannah's votes from this time. She also gave this album a 5 out of 10. Her top 3 were Cold Gin, Firehouse, and She. We also had my votes and your votes from the first time we did this. We also had votes from my dad and Steve McGowan from the first time. We had Jay Rucker and Jay Rucker's dad. And then we got overall votes from Chuck McFarland, Jay's niece, his uncle, and his brother, and also Jacob Hicks. So yeah, Robbie, get us your votes in there for this. I don't even have any for you from the first time, which is a little strange. I don't know if maybe you skipped this one because it was so many songs or something. But
yeah, Michael Groves, where have you been? All of a sudden, we went back to the Kiss discography, and you've been a ghost.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
your stuff in, man.
Get it all. Get it all. Everybody get yours in here. We have no problem adding votes in even once an episode is over. That's totally fine. If you want to go, anybody that's watching this, if you want to go back and rate the first 3 albums, I'll put them in here. That's totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Go ahead and put in your votes for Psycho Circus now. We'll come back. We'll put them in there. It's no big deal. Okay, so this ended up with an 8.9 overall average out of 10, counting in everybody's votes, which does put this in number 1 as far as the You Wanted the Best series so far. It is 0.1 points over the debut album at this point with 8.9, so it'll be interesting to see what gets over this, if Destroyer will, or I'm pretty sure Creatures of the Night was our number 1 last time, so I'm curious where that'll come in this time. In 16th place for this time is Come On and Love Me. Kind of a surprising dead last. 15th place, Got to Choose. In 14th place, Watching You.
Mm.
In 13th place, Strutter. In 12th place, Rock Bottom. 11th place, Nothing to Lose. In 10th place, Hotter Than Hell. 9th place, Rock and Roll All Night. In 8th place, Firehouse. 7th place, Cold Gin. In 6th place, Let Me Go Rock and Roll. In 5th place, Black Diamond.
Mm.
Making our top 4 for this week. In 4th place, Parasite. In 3rd place, She. In 2nd place, Deuce.
Ooh.
And in 1st place, 100,000 Years.
Nice. Thought for a minute 100,000 Years is going to get bumped to second, but
Yeah.
that's a good top 4 right there. But it's still weird to me that Rock and Roll All Night isn't in that top 3 or 4. It just seems like it would be a given, you know. And
Right.
didn't the same thing happen with Dress to Kill? It wasn't even in the top 3 or 4. And that to me, that's just crazy. I mean, as much whether you're tired of the song or whatever, it's like it just feels like it's one of them that should be, you know, again, like you're not gonna. I just feel like if people were ranking like Eagles, you know, Hotel California would definitely be in that top 3 or 4.
Yeah, definitely.
It's weird, but okay.
I'm a little curious now. I've just opened up the Alive from last time just to take a look. Yeah, I guess 100,000 Years still got first place last time. 100,000 Years, Deuce, Parasite, and Cold Gin got 4th place last time. So interesting how close that is. Now also, Alive had a 9.5 overall average last time, so that's quite a bit down this time.
Wow. Yeah, because like I know last time I gave it a 10.
Right. I think I gave it higher than 5. But
yeah.
I gave it 7 last time. Yeah.
This stupid fake music post on Facebook is bassist signs 2-year $100 deal with local metal band.
Dang it.
So the band's called Nice Guy Genocide. Oh, that's great. 2-year $100 deal.
That is pretty good.
All right. So yeah, like we said, man, keep getting them votes in. Go back and vote for all the other albums. Send us in your picks. Jump ahead as always. Obviously, next week is Destroyer. So we get into that kind of era 2, as I kind of think of it as for Kiss.
Yeah.
So get those votes in for that. And again, in case anyone missed it earlier, Facebook is giving us trouble getting this week's polls put up, but we'll be working on that. Hopefully, as long as Facebook lets it get posted, they will be up hopefully tonight. So
Absolutely.
definitely make sure to jump back over to the page and get those votes in on that as well.
I am going to try again right now. If my internet would cooperate.
Also, it looks like Luke froze. That's what happens when you go to try to post something at the same time, I guess. Well, hopefully he'll be right back with us here. So, in the meantime, I did see that they announced the new tour dates for the KISS show. Obviously, as we all expected, they're all being postponed until next year. Like, for example, for us here in Dayton, September 14th was supposed to be the show at Nutter Center. It's now rescheduled for, I believe, September. I got to look, but I want to say the 2nd or 4th of next year. So, yeah, it sucks that we have to wait another year, but I'm glad to know at the same time that it is still scheduled to continue and eventually end as planned. So, let us know what shows you guys are planning on going to. We definitely, it'd be cool if we can, I know it's a whole year away now for the Dayton show, but it'd be cool to meet up with some of you guys there if possible. And maybe if any of the other shows are close enough to us, maybe we'll swing over to some of them too. I definitely hope so. Definitely hope the KISS Expo returns in Indianapolis next year too. That was a real bummer not having that this year. But again, totally understandable because it was more about the tour going on at that point. But then, of course, with everything going on in the world that came right after that, definitely understandable why it got canceled. But we definitely hope to see it return next year. So, well, I'm not sure if Luke's going to come back anytime soon. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this up. We were pretty much done anyway. So once again, keep an eye on our Facebook page for those polls to go up. He's trying to work on it right as we speak. So hopefully they'll be up here within a matter of a few minutes, but definitely just keep an eye out. And we'll see if Facebook will fix itself. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. And, thanks for Rabble and my brother Mike Groves and everybody that, tuned in and chatted with us. And, we'll be back next week for Destroyer. Hopefully Savannah will be back with us. And then maybe we'll even have a guest or two that decides to pop in. So, all right, everyone, going to get out of here. Everyone take care, be safe. And again, rest in peace to Frankie Benally. Don't want to forget to say that one more time. He will be missed. So thanks again, and we'll see you guys next week for Destroyer. Later.